Good Monday morning, everybody. Hail Satan. I missed my Sinful Sunday broadcast yesterday. We have an upcoming offline Sabbath event for Harvest Home, the autumn equinox. So, needless to say, Drew in the national office, we're very, very busy offline getting ready for this event. Um, it's really going to be fantastic. It's a chance for people to come together within Satanism and the Left-Hand Path and hang with their brothers and sisters of like mind. So it's a fantastic thing that the Brotherhood's been doing. And this is actually marks our 41st offline Sabbath event, which is pretty cool. Okay. But this is not what today's discussion is about. Today's discussion is about the self-destruction syndrome within Satanism and the Left-Hand Path. Okay. Again, as a minister of infernal affairs and a master counselor emeritus, I often am charged with the responsibility and the assignment of discussing the issues that plague Satanism often. Okay. And no, these issues are very, very bad. Some of them are outside issues, and some of them are from within Satanism and the Left-Hand Path, because there's such a controversy between theistic and atheistic Satanism that causes a lot of it. However, what I'm speaking about here is a personal practitioner's self-destruction syndrome, okay, as a member of the Left-Hand Path or of Satanism. And the reason I'm discussing this is because this is very much a video that leadership need to take to their blackened satanic soul. Why, you might ask? I'll tell you why. A lot of times, I'll use the Brotherhood as an example. A lot of times, Drew or the national office or our counsel, Mariah, from the Brotherhood of Darkness, will request we do things in a certain way, right? And in turn, although I don't like to be authoritarian, right? And I don't like to be a dictator or anything like that as a leader. Truth. That's not Drew's mannerism, the way I do things, right? However, a lot of times I have to discuss things because I'm also a person who at times has been made a king, has been said to be a kingmaker. Okay, well, that's just a description that means I also help leaders grow. Okay, I'm about self-empowering leadership and bringing leaders into the Brotherhood or into my circle of acquaintances and my network. I want satanic leadership there, not followers, not people that don't listen to instruction, people that don't have a clue about real Satanism. They just want to follow a leader. Okay, I'm not a cult leader. Sorry. I am a way shower. Okay, so again, I'm often charged with these kind of discussions, okay? And that, no, they're not discussions I really like to take on, okay, that I have to talk about. But I have to talk about it, right? Okay. Part of being a minister of infernal affairs, I have to discuss all the infernal affairs, okay? And that means the good ones and the bad ones, okay? So what I mean by self-destruction syndrome is simple. You can create a leader. You can help a leader to become self-empowered, okay? And you can be out there for them. Oftentimes, we might put a person in power over a specific area of the occult, okay? Or an area that could be compartmentalized in an organizational structure as an organization. And we will put people over this office or that office or so on and so forth, right? Okay. The mistake that many people make is when they're put into a leadership position that gives them some power, they turn around and subconsciously or consciously mess it up for themselves. Okay. They'll make decisions. They're not thinking straight, whatever it is, right? And if you have elders like the Brotherhood of Satan does, you waste the elder's time when the elder tells you something will not work. Now, if Drew tells somebody something won't work, guess why he's saying that? It's because Drew, after being a Satanist for 67 years, knows what works and what doesn't work. You waste other leadership's time with trying to push something that your elders have already said do not work. Okay. And then the elders have to finally, after giving it a period of gestation, giving it a period of time to prove to that person it doesn't work, just like the elder told you, okay, then the person takes that in the wrong way. And they automatically start thinking, oh, well, nobody's listening to me. My opinion doesn't matter, and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just that it won't work. The opinion that doesn't matter in this case would have been your elder's opinion. It didn't seem to matter to you as a leader. Okay. Those are serious mistakes people make. That's why we're talking about the self-destructive syndrome. Okay. Then when they realize that the situation didn't work the way they wanted it to, and the elders were right, then they'll still have a temper tantrum about it. They'll still have a problem with it. Wow. Okay. That's very babyish actions. It's not the actions of a leader. It's not the actions of a leader. And it's true Satanism says, to thy own self be true. So yes, we want people to be happy and with their self-empowerment as a leader, But there's things that we don't want you to do that are mistakes that Drew over many, many years has seen people make over and over. They'll make these mistakes. Okay. They don't want to listen. And then it fails. Then they're going to go out and scream victim. They're going to go out. Yeah, they all do. Okay. They're all going to go victim, victim, victim. Nobody listens to me, blah, blah, blah. No, you didn't listen to your elder. Now, there's the real fucking affront. Because that's a total disrespect of your elder. You didn't want to listen to your elder. Even though they knew something won't work and you would not listen. Then you have the temper tantrums that go on and stuff like that. Whatever it is, they didn't get their way. Wow. This is what I mean by self-destructing. A person can go out there and be a great leader for any satanic organization, right? Or in the theistic or atheistic satanic movement themselves and be a great leader. But they're far too often, they're worried about what other people are not doing or are doing, whatever the case may be. And the problem with that is we're all individual Satanists. Our mind frame moves away from satanic philosophy, which states we're all individuals. We're all going to do things in a different way than others are. There's no two of us the same. No two of us are alike. That's a fact. And so the self-destructive syndrome comes in. This is why you see people that are associated with Satanism the Lefthand Path go through a lot of bad things too. And what I mean by self-destructiveness, often it leads to what? Suicidal tendencies, okay? A person being so depressed, they didn't get their way, they were wrong, okay, about something or whatever it is. And then they go and want to self-destruct, right? They make an action to try to commit suicide or who knows what. When they were made a leader, they were put into leadership where they have the choice to grow. And when you're in leadership, even me and Raven listen to elders. We listen to our elders. Okay. People that know more than we do. We're never so short-sighted that we think we're know-it-alls or we know better than our elders do. Ever. We don't ever do that. Because it's a self-destructive syndrome. There you go. Okay. A leader can very easily fall off the pyramid when they're traveling up the pyramid. When you going up towards the apex of the pyramid in satanic leadership, the path gets more narrow. It is so easy to fall off. Now, we've done this workshop and class before, talking about that pyramid and what leadership and the things and mistakes leadership can make. Okay? So, you don't want to be a Satanist that's on the self-destructive syndrome, okay? You never last the duration. You can't hang with it long enough. You allow yourself to get discouraged for some reason or another, and you don't want to listen to the people that actually know better than you do. That might have placed you in leadership in the first place and gave you a chance. Now, the Brotherhood of Satan and the Brotherhood of Darkness, we're all about creating leadership. Well, in our zeal to create leadership in Satanism, we want those leaders to have the right head on their shoulders, right? Exactly. Having the right head on your shoulders is very important. All right. But so often we see this self-destructive syndrome, okay? And yeah, it's not just in leadership, but where it's really, really important within Satanism and the Left-Hand Path is when it does get into leadership and people that you really look up to and you're really proud of start doing that self-destructive syndrome. And then it ultimately will always go out and play the victim. Because, again, it's just like a little child in kindergarten that doesn't get their way. Okay? They were wrong. They were simply wrong, and they can't take it like a Satanist. If you're strong, guess what? You're strong if you're wrong or if you're right about something. That's the way you're supposed to be anyway. And if you're wrong about something, you do what Drew does as a leader to emulate. I own it. If I'm wrong, I'm going to own it. It doesn't take away from you being a leader that you own that you've made a mistake on something. It doesn't make you look terrible. Oh, I would worry about what I look like or whatever is in your fucking head, right? Whatever that shit is. Psychosis, I call it. Because I'm a master counselor, also took psychology. Hate to tell everybody. So I know people. I know them better than they know themselves most of the time. Wow. But particularly leadership. And these are little things you don't want to make mistake doing these things, okay? You don't want to get in the self-destructive syndrome at all. People on the self-destructive syndrome, they never make good leaders, and they won't never last the duration. Why? The national office or other Satanists that are in the network with them, they're not the ones that are blowing it. That individual Satanist is blowing it for themselves, automatic. Now, we describe this after a brotherhood becomes an initiate. Drew and Raven describe this to people, and we tell people it's more than just getting that initiation from us. You have to pass the guardian at the threshold. The guardian at the threshold is a demon. And oftentimes, that demon could be yourself. That's when the saying of you're your own worst enemy comes from. But you have to beat that lower natured self. You got to beat it if you want to be a real leader. And you've got to get by yourself and get by that fucking demon. If you can do that, you're ready to be a real leader. And you will grow on to become, as we say after you're an initiate, a leader. Okay? Realize it's not that you're a leader because somebody of importance in Satanism or somebody that has knowledge that people recognize, such as myself, name you a leader. It's much, much more than that. It's what you do as a leader or do not do that matters. It matters 666%. If you want to be a real leader. Okay? Otherwise, people are going to look at you. They're going to go, well, they do good, real good things, but they're frosting slipping off the Pop-Tart in other areas. And let me say this about Satanists. My ilk of Satanists, we're never been friend collectors, okay? We're not out for, what's the word? Collecting friends, attention. There's the word. We're not out seeking attention. We're not attention seekers at all. And there's a lot of ways to get attention in Satanism and the Left-Hand Path, right? And like Drew said earlier, there's a good way and there's a bad way to get attention, isn't there? Or you can be like Drew. I attract. I'm not worried about attention. I am worried about passing on something that's going to help self-empower people. And when I'm talking about a destructive mind frame syndrome like I am, believe me, that is self-destruction on a personal level. And it is totally opposite of self-empowerment. If you're self-destruct yourself, how will you ever gain self-empowerment? Bingo, you won't. Because the self-destruction is going to lead to chaos in your life and a whole bunch of fucking problems. Mentally, physically, and every other way. Not to mention the friction you cause, perhaps with an elder or an organization that you're supposed to be a member and a leader of, too. All because of one thing. A person's on that self-destruction syndrome, so they feel that no matter what, they're right and their elders can't be right. Okay. Wow. Now, Drew, in my reputation, in my time, I founded over 7 covens, okay? And, of course, was also a high priest and master counselor performing rituals for many, many other covens. If you were to count them, it's a lot of covens then, even more than the ones I founded. And I am currently a coven master today. These same mistakes that I'm speaking of in leadership that people make with the self-destructive syndrome can also happen in covens, okay? It's not just in organizations this happens. Okay, it happens in covens sometimes. And again, they self-destruct themselves. Either they're trying to dictate the curriculum that the teacher, the coven master, is going on their own, what they think is more relevant, more important to teach people, And you can even have people that don't like that you're sharing stuff with other people, and they don't get that to build an organization, you still got to put out some very real information for people. Very real. Leaders that don't understand Drew's methodologies or why I do some of the things I do, then they don't understand anything about building an organization or having an organization that's a growing entity that does not stagnate. You can't take an organization like Brotherhood of Satan, even the COS or anything, and just stagnate it. And then wonder why we're not getting members or whatever, right? Okay. And generational Satanism is much different ilk. We're a different movement than the norm of Satanism out there. Because we were so secretive. Almost to a fault almost to a fault. But we didn't want to have our membership known in the public. We had various reasons for that. Persecution's, of course, the biggest one. Also jobs and things like that. This is now an internet world, right? Well, you have bosses that can look you up on the net. Now you have, you don't know what people are going to do. No, it's not right. No, it's not right to judge you and all that. But they'll do it. They'll do it. So there's a lot of reasons for anonymity. A lot of people in Brotherhood of Satan or Brotherhood of Darkness organizations, a lot of the people in Brotherhood of Darkness, for instance, that are in the film and entertainment business, they express their magic on stage where they really want to be with everybody, right? And where they really want to pass on that energy and that gnosis to people, a transferal of vibration, right? That's where they do it. Their private lives, they want to keep them private. And I understand that, being brother to darkness myself, I understand it better than anybody about wanting to be private, too. Privacy equals protection. Simple as that. Okay. So within Satanism, it's not just leadership. So don't get me wrong on what this discussion's about. I see it in a lot of the lower levels of membership within Satanism as well. People new to Satanism, they end up being group jumpers, organization jumpers. And I'm going to tell you why. They expect something and don't have the patience to wait for it, or they're just the type of person, really, in reality, that's the way they are. They're really only meant to have their own organization or do their own thing. Okay, of course, it doesn't mean they're better than the other Satanists that join organizations or are members of certain organizations or not, right? It doesn't. Okay. But you see way too many group jumping and stuff like that, or organization jumping. Now, I'm going to tell you why that is. This goes into that same syndrome in a lot of ways. They don't really know where they're going. They're still looking. So, yeah, even a leader can go out there, and people that think they're a leader or they recognize them as a leader, right? And then people see those kind of actions. Let's see, they jump from 2 different things, 3 different things in just a little bit of time. Drew's known. Well, that just tells Drew they're still seeking. It's going to be some time before they step into being a real leader, right? Absolutely. Okay. Another thing that goes along with this syndrome I'm speaking about, the self-destructive syndrome, is a simple thing of learning patience. Okay. Now, every Satanist leader, I don't care who you are, and you can debate this with me all you want, but you'd be wrong. Okay. Don't matter who you are. You have to know in your mind's eye, right? You have to know that being impatient is not discipline. Impatience does not go with disciplining yourself. Okay. And you have to be the kind of leader that learns patience, because people will test you. Just like me being out here talking about this particular issue. People will test you, and they'll test your resolve. Can you be pushed over as a Satanist leader? Can somebody push you over and you don't stick and you make that decision because you're worried about offending them? No, a real Satanist leader has to their own self, be true, particularly in an area when that leader already knows, based on many, many years of experience, that something will not work. If it won't work, it won't work. It doesn't matter how hard you fuss and cry about it and get angry about it or whatever. It's not going to work. You only hurt yourself. And again, that's part of self-destructive syndrome. Because you're beating yourself up when you were wrong. Satanism can't be likened to any other movement or the left-hand path, to any other occult movement out there. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You cannot take people that are individual Satanists and try to dictate to them, order them that they have to do this, or their membership status is relinquished, or this or that. Wow. You can't do those kind of things. That leads to that self-destruction syndrome I'm talking about. Because eventually, wise elders are going to say, well, okay, I let it run. It's been more than a year, so on and so forth. It's not going to work. I'm not going to waste another fucking year or 2, right? So that's what I'm saying. Drew doesn't have time to waste on that stuff. Something doesn't work, it simply doesn't work. Take that in stride. Be a leader that's an adult. Don't go out there, little temper tantrum, and play the victim, and nobody ever listens to me. I'm not important. My opinion don't matter, blah, blah. If it's wrong, it's fucking wrong. Own it. Just like Drew owns things if it's wrong that I do. Own it. Oftentimes, people looking without for an excuse, right? When everything to do with the occult and your own self-empowerment as a Satanist comes from within. So we're always looking out there for the scapegoat, want to play the victim role because we made a mistake. Okay. And in this self-destruction syndrome comes another couple words, and that's called self-responsibility. It's not very good self-responsibility when you lie to yourself, thinking something's going to work that your elders have told you won't work. And then over a short period of time or a period of time, you see it's not working. Let's see. Do you kick the people out of a coven? Do you kick them all out of the organization just because they're not doing exactly what you think they should be doing? In real leadership, and this is what I mean by the self-destructive syndrome, real leaders don't give a shit what anybody else does or not. Guess what we do? We shine like a Lucifer ourselves. That's what we do. That's a real leader. It doesn't matter if you try something and it doesn't work. What matters is your reaction and how you handle that situation as a leader. If indeed you're a leader. A leader also goes through periods of time that they have to bend and they have to try to adjust for other people up to a certain point, right? Up to that point that the time's been granted and it still shows it won't work. Okay. Up to that time. Least we all forget a simple thing that we're all Satanists. We're all individuals, therefore. And we follow an individualistic satanic philosophy. Not everybody is going to be able to do everything that's required from an organization or a coven because they have life issues going on. Another thing that a self-destructive syndrome person is going to have is they're going to ignore all of that no matter what because they're always thinking about only their narcissistic self. And they're going, well, I do this and I do that. What fucking doesn't matter what you do and what you don't do. Or excuse me, it does matter what you do and what you don't do. It doesn't matter what anybody else does or doesn't do. Thank you. Okay. Adolescents in Satanism, right? They are always the ones that go into the self-destructive syndrome. And what I mean by adolescents in Satanism, I'm not saying people are fucking babies or they're, just what I'm saying, spiritual maturity is what I'm talking about. Their spiritual maturity is still on a very, very low level. All real leaders listen to their elders and their counselors if they have them. All of them do. They all do. I've seen people removed from covens for making infractions, organizations for making infractions, and it can be serious mistakes. And all you think you're doing, you think in your mind's eye, your own selfish eye, right? As a Satanist, we're all about self. It didn't go your way. And that makes it wrong. No, that's not wrong. What makes it wrong is you're not really looking at the picture then. Because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Satanism, as I said, with all the entire occult world, and believe me, I'm involved in all of it, Satanism above everything else, and the left-hand path, is that guide and key to lead you to self-empowerment. Self-empowerment is not being on a destructive syndrome. That's not self-empowering you. That's depressing yourself. That's putting you on a lower level of energy and all these other things. Your biorhythm's fucking zero. Is way down. You don't even realize it, but you're doing it to yourself. When leadership within Satanism can learn to leave that self-destructive syndrome out of there and be a real leader, coming from their own satanic soul as a real leader, not caring what people do or don't do, the real leadership will come to the top. Just like if you were back in the old days making a churn of butter or cream, right? It rises to the top. And that's what will happen within Satanism too. You can be a leader for a period of time, and that self-destructive syndrome can go destroy you completely. And then, of course, we often are so narrow-minded, short-sighted, we don't want to blame ourselves. So we're going to try to blame somebody outside of us and play the victim. Well, the real person you should be getting upset with is your own self. You're not a victim. You have elders actually showing you how to be self-empowered in the right way and telling you that destructive syndrome is not the way. That's going to destroy you. Okay. You can't let a destructive syndrome, self-destruction syndrome, go very far in leadership. No Satanist should and could. We shouldn't. We just shouldn't do it. We shouldn't even allow it, right? Now, I am all for understanding and comprehending that people are still going to do things in their own methodology and in their own due time and stuff. And sometimes it takes people a lot longer to realize something won't work, right? That they're trying to do, regardless of what their elders told them about it not working. Okay. Satanism is about self-empowerment. And no, it's not a particular elder telling a member or a person they've put in power what to do. We're giving a suggestion and a guideline. We're giving counsel based on, in my case, 67 years of being a Satanist. I would think over 67 fucking years, many Satanists today I know that weren't even born then. I would think, in the course of 67 years, Drew probably learned quite a bit. And he knows about this self-destructive syndrome he's speaking about. You know why I know? I've seen it far too many times. And that Satanist could be a top leader even, and they blow it for themselves. They'll blow it by self-destructing themselves. Wow. Stop with the whole syndrome of worrying about what other people do. Worry about yourself as a Satanist. Plain and simple. There's our ideology, guys. But please understand, there are elders that do know organization. I'm one of them. I'm probably the top organizer in Satanism today. But why am I a top organizer? It's called experience. It's because I've seen these things that you're speaking about over and over and again. It's not conducive to Satanism. It doesn't help the growth of Satanism. It stunts our growth. It causes stagnation. It wastes time, so on and so forth. And on the other hand, sometimes, Drew, can see where a leader that's self-destructing means well. I can also feel, because I am a witch, and I have my witch's intuition very strong, in fact. So I'll also know when a person means well. But the mistake is made when they mean well, but they're not listening to their elders that know better. Wow. And yeah, Satanism is about being an individual, making your own personal choices and decisions. But as I said, as a person who is self-empowered, I still listen to my elders. Okay. Holy shit. But that's what happens within Satanism. They have a lot of people will come up with this, self-destruction syndrome. They think that's Satanism. They think it's part of Satanism. They think it's a chaos current of Satan. killing yourself does not self-empower you in this world, does it? You won't be here. Okay. I guess I can pretty well stop it there, right? That's a pretty good, strong statement to make. Okay. So don't self-destruct, people. Listen to your elders when it's feasible, and you should be listening to them. Okay. Don't self-destruct. Stop being impatient. If Drew and Raven go out and we say, here's an example. I'll give you an example. All of our offline events are secretive. We don't advertise to the whole world like Saint and Con, where we're going to have an event and stuff like that. Sometime in the future, we may do things like that. Again, it opens you up to persecution if you do. And the reason we keep our offline events that we do open to members and guests, and meaning also some public, right? We open those up, but they still have to be secretive for the very protection of the people that come to our events. So oftentimes people will get impatient and they're going, hey, Drew, where's the location? I got to know. When we've already made a statement, hey, we're going to give the festival location out at a certain date and so on and so forth, right? Okay. Wow. All right. And they'll still get impatient. And again, Drew looks at it and goes, okay, this is coming from another leader, but yet there's a flaw in their leadership. It's because Drew's always going to be transparent. Drew's always going to tell people where things are going on. You know, if people register, I'm good to my word. I hate to tell people we're not making money off of everybody else. By the time our festivals are said and done, you know, the national office puts out thousands of dollars more than comes in. Absolute fact. Absolute fact. But we're charged with one thing: protecting the people that are there and ourselves. And the respect to the people that we have our timeshares and stuff with, where we hold some of our events currently till our land project takes off. We're working on a land project within the next 2 years as well. Then Brotherhood of Saint wants to open 4 offline events, and everybody will know they're going on. The 4 Great Sabbaths will be hosting. Our visualization is what it is. I won't go into it, but it's going to be an outdoor ritual area as well as indoor temple. It's going to be really nice. Okay. So my focus tends to be on where we're going, the Brotherhood going into the future, and those kinds of things. I don't sit and dwell on something like, wow, they're not doing as much as I feel like I'm doing. Ultimately, if you put it on the master counselor scales, there's people doing things that are just as important when it comes to the Brotherhood. You can't discount that and act like it's not there, that they're not doing enough, or they're not doing what I do, or whatever the fuck it is that people got to say. Looking without instead of shining as an individual saint. There we go. All right. Like a Lucifer will always shine. Drew says this statement a lot. But it's an individual shining. It's an individual shining. It's not based on what other high clergy do, lower clergy, members do, other organizations do, independent Satanists do, the COS does, whatever. What we do and our own self-empowerment is not based on anything but else. No one else. Okay. My leadership credentials, if anybody wants to debate them with me, are many. I've been a high officer in everything, guys, in the occult world. That includes all the heraldic orders and chivalric orders as well. A leader in all of it. So I know organization, and I know the mistakes people can make in leadership. Okay? And it's human to make mistakes. The idea is to learn from the mistake and not to keep making the same mistakes, right? It turns into the destructive syndrome, self-destruction syndrome, when it is a mistake and you know it's a mistake, you still won't listen to it. You won't listen to the fact that it is a mistake from anyone, no matter if it's a counsel or if it's me and Raven or whoever. You still don't want to believe it. You still want to do it your way. Well, that can't be done. Okay, we can't do things like that as real leaders. A real leader is charged with the harmony that transpires within any organization. Okay? Drew doesn't like to see anybody losing. Drew says in order to make it that there's not a loser and a winner in a situation, we all need to be winners then. Right. But you have to have a real open mind to be a leader like I am. You really do. It doesn't change what I'm talking about. That self-destruction syndrome is out there. The impatientness is out there. The emotional responses being thrown all over the place, like a class I did recently, or a discussion online, excuse me. You'll see that video when I talk about emotional response as Satanists. And only use that emotional response in a ritual or a spellcraft work that you're doing. Otherwise, you don't go out and telegraph when you're at your weakest state. You're depressed. Your biorhythm's low. You've had a bad relationship. And you're telling the entire world that you're in a weakened state, not you're a Satanist that's strong. Okay. Time and place for everything on Satan's earth. Okay. Be the kind of leader that doesn't move a few years down the line after being a leader moves into self-destructing yourself. Please don't do that. I've seen it way too many times. Should I, as a Satanist leader, care? Do you even care about people self-destructing themselves? In the whole scheme of Satan's scheme of things, no, I shouldn't. I should just let them do it. But yet I have some sentiment for some people. Especially where it hurts Drew the most is when he sees someone he's brought up as a leader and they are doing and excelling and doing such a great job being a real leader. And then they come up with that destructive syndrome thing. Okay? They get a psychosis that pops up and they've got to compare themselves to everybody else, or they want to do it this way. It's got to be their way, or they're not taking it, or they're going to be disgruntled or be pissed off or whatever. And then it causes friction, though. See, that shit can still cause friction within any organization, right? Or a coven or whatever. Or even individually between people. If you interact like that just as an individual Satanist, you're going to have the same results. What I'm talking about. Don't self-destruct yourself. Give yourself a chance as a leader. And be the kind of leader that actually learns from people that know more than you. Be accepting of that, too. Doesn't mean don't be proud to be a Satanist leader and don't proud to be self-empowered. It doesn't mean don't have pride in yourself. I replace a lot of that with confidence in myself, however. Too. The way to have confidence in yourself is when you stop caring about anything else surrounding you. The external. Let the internal grow. Be a leader that grows internally. People will see that in you. If you're a leader that grows internally, it's going to be seen. It will absolutely be seen. Because those growth changes, people are going to see those too. And they're going to be going, wow, I'm so proud of that person. That person is a great leader. They've got it. They've got a grip, so to speak, like we'd say in the Masons. They got a good grasp of what's going on. As a leader, they're concerned with their own self-empowerment and showing other people how to be self-empowered. But they're not dictating. They're not authoritarian. Those are big mistakes to make in Satanism. Go out there as an authoritarian. Go out there starting to dictate to people. You will lose the recognition and respect of your sisters and brothers very quickly. There's my wise counsel to all of you that are on that self-destruction syndrome. Hail Satan, everybody. The only thing that makes you a real leader in Satan's eyes and the eyes of your sisters and brothers is you. Your actions and deeds. How you conduct yourself. Your deportment. Do you listen to your elders when it needs to be? Hail Satan. Okay. That's all I have to say on this Monday broadcast, which is a carryover of my Sinful Sunday. As a minister of infernal affairs, yeah, I got to discuss all this stuff. I don't want to see people self-destructing that they're doing a great job as a leader and then they fucking blow it for themselves. Wow. And watch, the self-destructive syndrome people, they can't stay the duration. Well, I've been a member 10 years, 15 years. Try being a member your whole fucking life. Try being a member 67 years. 10 years doesn't mean you've gained any real knowledge. You should have. You should have. If you gained real knowledge, you wouldn't be externalizing so much. You'd be worried about this. That's self-empowerment. Not the self-destruction syndrome. Okay. That's just things that aren't positive for Satanism today, okay? I can tell you guys, because I can lay my soul bare. I don't have a problem doing that with people, and I'll be open and honest. I make mistakes, but when I know I'm making a mistake, I won't let it go out the duration. I won't stretch it out fucking a year, 2 years. I'm not going to waste the Brotherhood's time, my time, whatever, right? Again, that takes the growing process. It takes learning. And get past the threshold, please, everybody, because that demon could be yourself. All right. Hail Satan, everybody. Remember to always hail Satan first. That's what theistic Satanists do. And then hail yourself next. Live long and prosper. Have good health with good cheer. Be a Satanist that learns and understands self-empowerment. Be a Satanist that learns and understands self-empowerment occurs within. Be a Satanist that's not on that satanic destruction syndrome, that is a Satanist that has learned self-empowerment means self-control. Self-control. The real test of an initiate is when they're placed in front of something that they want to see happen a different way, or they want it their way, or one way or another. Okay. When it doesn't work that way, you grow on, you grow up, you learn from that evolutionary process. All real Satanist leaders have to do this. And at some time, we're each confronted by that guardian at the threshold. For some, you don't confront that guardian right after initiate, like a lot of initiates have to do right then. Sometimes it's later on in your years and you've moved up and you're a leader. And you've faced that guardian at the threshold. Because that demon wants to pop up when that demon's ready to, not when you decide. And then there's your real test as a leader. Do you want to be a self-empowered leader? Or do you want to be a leader that stays a leader for a short period of time can't stay the duration, and self-destructs. It's up to us all, each as an individual Satanist. Hail Satan. Hail yourself. And remember, a Satanist is the highest embodiment of a human that is on this planet. Please follow that and understand that. We are the embodiment of gods and goddesses on this planet. A god and goddess don't self-destruct unless it's a sacrificial ritual for that occurrence. That's only happened with our ancestors. Past history, right? Don't make those mistakes, my friends. Hail Satan, hail yourself. So mote it be.